This is K5VZ. Does anybody need to use the repeater before we start tonight's net? This is K5VZ. My name is Jim, and I'll be the net control station for tonight's net, hosted by the Lewisville Amateur Radio Association. This net is held every Saturday night at 1930 hours local on this frequency, which is 45.17 megahertz with a negative offset and a PL tone of 110.9. This net provides education and discussion about amateur radio topics. All stations licensed to transmit on this frequency are welcome and encouraged to participate by checking in to tonight's net. Tonight's net will be conducted as a directed net in order to practice proper operating procedures. Therefore, please do not transmit without direction from net control, and all stations are reminded to ID themselves at the end of their transmissions. This net will give priority to any emergency or skywarn activation. If there is an emergency or skywarn activation, we will suspend or end the net at that time. Stations with emergency or priority traffic may enter the net at any time by using the words break, break, followed call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic for the net? If so, please call net control now. All right, nothing heard. We will start with check-ins. Any station wishing to check in, please call net control now with your call sign phonetically and your first name.
W5FKN.
Kilo Echo 5, Charlie, India Romeo.
Kilo 5, Lima Golf X-Ray, Clark. Kilo Golf 5, November, India November, Benjamin.
Whiskey Zulu 5, Tango, Mike, Tim.
All right, I have Dan, Clark, Benjamin, and Tim. If anybody else would like to check into tonight's net, please call net control now.
Kilo Golf 5, Kilo November, Tango.
I had Kilo Golf 5, Kilo Zulu Tango. I didn't get a first name. Could you please come back?
KMT, Lonnie.
All right, I get Kilo Golf 5, Kilo November Tango, Lonnie. Anybody else want to check in? Please call net control now. All right, nothing heard. I want to thank everybody for joining tonight's net. Now it's time to unveil tonight's topic, which is remote radio control and operation. And we actually have a presentation that you can follow along at. If you go out to the Facebook site, which is facebook.com/W5LVC, you'll see the link. You can also find the presentation at http://Bravo India Tango .Lima Yankee /Kilo 5 Victor Zulu dash 20160528. We'll take a minute or two, and so everybody can get the presentation up. If you're having problems getting to the presentation, please notify NetGrow, and we'll try to help you get it up. While we're waiting for everybody to get to the presentation, if there's anybody else that would like to check into the net, please call net control now with your call sign phonetically and your first name.
Kilo Fox 5, Tango Lima Alpha, Mark.
Thanks for joining the net. I have Kilo Fox 5, Tango Lima Alpha. All right. Hopefully everybody has reached the presentation from our Facebook link at facebook.com/W5LC. And we're going to start with the second slide, or third slide, which is what is remote control. So what we're talking about is a process of control radio via remote means. That can either be done over local connections like remote wires or the internet, or you can, and what you're actually doing is manipulating the radio and transmitting it via the remote connection. And actually tonight, that's what I'm doing, is I'm sitting outside on my deck and connecting over the internet to my ICOM 7100 and transmitting to you all. As we go through here, I'm going to pause between each slide, so if anybody has any questions, please contact Net Control with your call sign, and we'll take questions in between slides. So we're going to actually go to slide number 4. We've got some graphics that actually show different ways that you can actually connect your radio and go over the internet and do remote control. Some of the newer radios actually are built in with Ethernet capability, and so you can actually connect your radio to your local network and expose it to the internet, and then use remote software and actually talk to it and control it that way. Others might have a USB port that when you connect to your PC, you'll actually run server software there, and that will actually transmit the audio and back and forth and to control your radio. And then the other way you can do it is via like a rig blaster or other audio connection. All right, we're going to switch to slide number 5, and we're going to basically talk a little bit about responsibilities. So the person who owns the station that you are remotely controlling ultimately is responsible for anything that happens with the station. But you, as a control operator, are responsible for what you transmit and where you transmit. You need to make sure that you transmit within your license privileges, and because you're the one originating the communication, and therefore you're the one responsible for the communication or the message that is being sent. Is basically the same rules apply as if you were sitting in front of the radio and controlling it with your hands physically.
W5FKN.
Now we'll stop here and we'll take questions if anybody has. Please call Net Control. All right, I'm also going to do station identification, and we'll take some more check-ins because we're 10 minutes past the start of the net. This is K5VZ, the Lewisville Amateur Radio Association's subject to be announced net. If there are anybody that would like to check into tonight's net, please call Net Control now with your call sign clearly and your first name.
Kilo Golf 5, Mike, Foxtrot, Juliet, Kent.
Well, good evening, Kent, and so you can follow along. We actually have a presentation that you can view over the internet. If you go out to our face site at facebook.com/W5LVC, you'll see a link to the presentation, and we're currently on we're going to be moving to slide number 6. So we'll give everybody a minute to get to slide 6, and we'll continue. So let's talk about what you need to do remote control of a station. 1, you're going to need a radio. 2, you're going to need a computer. And if your radio doesn't have a Ethernet port that allows you to connect directly to the internet with it, you're going to need a radio to computer interface. Now, it could be a rig blaster, a signal link, USB cable, and then you're going to want a public IP address. And you can actually, if you use dynamic DNS, you can get your IP address that your home router connects to, with a name. Like for me, it's K5VZ.DeltaDeltaNovemberSierra.net. Or, you can, through your IP provider, actually get a fixed IP and use that. And then the last thing, you're going to need some remoting software, which we're going to cover in the next couple of slides. Now, slide 7 actually contains the LARA's link and remote control information page. And on here are a bunch of articles that show you actually how to set up your device, your radio, actually get it set up so you can actually use remote control. And at the end of this presentation, I have a bunch of links for the different software you can use and the different devices and the remote control software. So does anybody have any questions about what you need to get started to remotely control your radio via the internet or remote control software? Call Net Control now. All right, nothing heard, so let's go on to slide number 8. Now, anybody has Ham Radio Deluxe right now and they're using it to control their radio as they're doing DXing or digital modes, you actually have a software that you can use to remote control your radio over the internet today. It actually has server software that will allow you to connect to it from another version of Ham Radio Deluxe and control it and transmit over it via the internet or your local network. So a lot of people, for I think it's like $99 for Ham Radio Deluxe. That's actually about what I paid just for my remoting software, and I don't things like logbook or radio control or digital modes with it. So, Ham Radio Deluxe is a really good piece of software if you're looking for something that you want to use for remoting your radio or actually controlling your radio while you're doing DX. All right, we're going to go to slide number 9. And this is actually called the Internet Remoting Toolkit, and this was created by an amateur operator, and he actually built an interface that allows you to remote control your entire station over the internet, and this software bridges between the two. It has full duplex audio, and it will actually interact with just about any other software on the other side. It's free. It's a little bit harder to configure, but you can do that. And we'll have a link to his site at the end of the presentation. Now on slide 10, I've got an image of the ICOM site, and this is a software that I use to control my radio remotely, but Yaesu and Ken, everybody else probably also has software to allow you to do the same thing. I just wanted to give an example that you can always go out and look at the manufacturer of your radio to see if they have remote control software. This pack for the RS-BA1 software costs $100, but it can actually be used to control any ICOM radio that allows remoting capabilities. Now, just because you don't pack that specifically says that it will control your radio remotely, you can still do this as long as you can rig up a push-to-talk interface and take the audio into your radio. So you could drop back and use Ham Radio Deluxe and use a radio that might be a little bit older, as long as you can interface it and actually transmit data back and forth, just like you would with digital modes. Now, there's one other package on slide 11, which we'll talk about in a second.
W5FKN.
So the last software package we're going to cover is called Remote Rig, and it will actually work with various different radios, and it does the same thing. It's software that you install on your computer that creates a server, and then they have a client which allows you to connect to it over the internet. So there's 4 different packages you can look at. And with that, we're going to actually take another break and take some check-ins. This is K5VZ for the Lewisville Amateur Radio Association's subject to be announced net. If there's anybody that would like to check into the net, please call now with your call sign phonetically and your first name. Okay, nothing heard, so let's move on to slide number 12. Now, let's say that you don't have a radio that you can remote, but you want to do some HF. And W Zulu 5 Tango Mike, Mr. Tim, I know, is doing this via handy hams, but there are remote ham radio services that you can actually sign up for and actually operate HF gear and VHF and UHF gear across the internet. Basically, it's a great way for you to get your feet wet before you buy HF gear, because you may be able to connect to a radio that you're looking at buying, like a Elecraft radio or something else. It's great for amateurs who can't set up antennas, and it's actually great for propagation checks. We'll actually talk about some receive-only radios that you can use to check your propagation. Now, on slide 13 is a paid service called Radio, and they are actually set up for like world-class DX stations. They're high-performance radios with multiple antennas, and they charge $100 a year, and then based on the station that you're using, they charge a per-minute fee. So that can get a little expensive if you spend a lot of time chasing DX work in that, but it's a way just to get your feet wet and see what it's like. Okay, slide number 4 is a picture of remotehams.com. And this is actually several clubs that have actually put up stations available to be operated over the internet. A lot of them are free. What you do have to do is ask or sign up for a time to use it. You sign up on the site, and then you can pick a radio that you want to use, and then some require you to join their club. But they actually have full instructions on how to operate their gear, how to switch different antennas based on what bands you're on, or whether you need a beam versus you want to use a dipole. They've got quite a bit. Plus, they also have an Android client that allows you to operate the radio from your Android phone. Okay, and on slide 15, we have WebSDR. And this is actually a great site to use if you want to do a propagation check to see if you're getting into Europe or other places across the continent. They have a list of radios that you can connect to, and actually they show what bands they operate on, and so you can basically connect to the radio if nobody's using it, change the frequency to where you're at, and broadcast and see if you hear it transmitted over the internet. You can actually listen for it coming back to you over the internet. And I don't believe any of these cost any money to use because they're all listen-only radios, but you may have to wait till somebody else is done using it before you can control it. Now, does anybody have any questions about remote ham radio services before we hit our last slide, which is the resources slide, and then we're going to open up the net and we're going to take questions and stuff of that nature. All right, our last slide is actually the resources, and these are links to all the sites that I've taken and put up and did research around for tonight's presentation. You can access this presentation anytime you want via the Facebook site. We'll have it up, and in the future we hope to basically record all these. I'm still working on audio and carrying that so that we can actually record the entire net and put it up with slides. With that, I'm going to take and do a round robin of everybody on the net, and let's check in and see if anybody has questions. So starting off with that, let's go with KE5CI Dan, and see if you have any questions or comments about tonight's presentation.
Well, I'd say I like the format, the new format, and presentations, and another opportunity to learn from a different angle this time. So great job and great topic, and looking forward to many more to KE5CIR.
Okay, let's go to KG5LGX, Clark. And do you have any comments, or what did you think about tonight's presentation?
Thank you for your preparation, Jim, getting the presentation together. I enjoyed it. The thing that interested me the most is that websdr.org. That's a page I'm definitely going to check out. And don't know if I really have any questions right now. I still don't know if I fully understand it, but if I have any questions when I visit, I'm sure to look you up. K5LGX.
W5FKN.
Go to Kilo Golf 5, November, India, November, Benjamin. And how about you? Do you have any comments or questions about tonight's presentation?
Just want to say thank you as well for setting up this presentation. And to me, I'm actually surprised quite how many radios are up for public use, just common courtesy. Looks like a lot of people could definitely use that to further their communication. KG5NIN.
Yeah, and I've just hit the tip of the iceberg. I'm sure if you actually start searching the internet, you'll probably find more radios. And actually, we're going to go to Whiskey Zulu 5 Tango Mike Tim, and I'd actually like to hear from him about his handy hams and how that works, because that's another side of this that he's been using for a week or so now, and he was kind of the inspiration for tonight's subject when we were talking about it on Wednesday night's net. So, Tim, why don't you give us some feedback and explain a little bit about handy hams?
Well, Handy Ham's an organization for handicapped people who are amateur radio enthusiasts. They largely are for people who are blind and help them pass their amateur tests. But in one little thing, I had a couple of remote stations they allow members to use. So I signed up and have been using their system for a couple weeks now. And they actually use remotehams.com to bring their systems up. They're one of the organizations that use remotehams.com. It tells you in there you've got to join Handy Hams, and then you've got to send off. When you get on remotehams.com, you have to send them a copy of. Okay, you have to send them a copy of your license, and then the people who own the systems will authorize you for whatever they feel that you can do. Some are remote or listenly, some have transmit, some have transmit, and they have amplifiers, so you can get up with some real power. And they're not only in the U.S., hams are in Minnesota, but the other ones I've been working with a couple in Poland, and I had one down in New Zealand that I got permission to use, but haven't used it yet. Hold on. So back to net.
All right, thanks a lot. Yeah. Now let's go to KG5, KNT, Lonnie. And do you have any questions or comments about tonight's presentation? All right, it looks like Lonnie had to check out on the net early, so let's go to Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Lima Alpha, Mark. And how about you? You got any comments or questions about tonight's presentation? All right, so it looks like we lost Mark as well. All right, let's go on to Kent, G5MFJ. And how about you, Kent? You got any questions or comments about tonight's presentation?
Hi, Jim. Hey, this is good information. Organized, and you spent a lot of time on it, and I appreciate that. Based on my learning curve, this is kind of overwhelming, so I'm not able to have any questions. I like having all these resources, though, so I can read. And just a note to everybody on that last slide, number 16, if you right-click the links, it'll open up another window, and you can click, and it'll take you and open up in a new window. So I'm going to bookmark all these and read them as I can. But really, thank you for doing this. This is great. Net.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Kent. I'm going to go ahead and do station identification again. This is K5EZ for the Lewisville Amateur Radio Association's subject to be announced net on the W5FKN repeater. If there's anybody else that would like to check in tonight, please control now. All right, nothing heard. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pose a couple of questions opened up to the people on the net. And the first question is, anybody interested in setting up their system or a radio they might have extra as a remote-controlled station? Please call Net Control now. Okay, nothing heard. Well, then my next question is how many people on the net are actually going to maybe look into some of the ham radio services that we presented tonight and might actually try using one of those? Please call Net Control now.
KG5MFJ.
Go ahead, Kent.
Well, I've got a couple of other people that I could actually communicate with, but as a new user, I really don't have anybody outside of that. So using the ham service at this point, before I've ever done anything in HF at all, is kind of remote. But it's just this type of activity that lets everybody know what's available and what can be done, and it really does create a lot of future opportunities. Not going to do it now, but I'll probably do it in the future. Thanks. Back to Net.
W5FKN.
All right. Anybody else? Call Net Control now.
Kilo Echo 5, Charlie, Indy, Romeo.
Head, Mr. Dan.
Well, I'm definitely going to be interested in getting several of those options kind of in the midst of cleaning up after the delivery of my latest project. But as my HF equipment start going in, I'm definitely going to be wanting to add those connects to the list.
Well, I think it'll be good. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how well you could actually do a remote control over like a 3G hotspot or something. I know that we're going to probably find out when YWA goes on his vacation here next week, because he's going to be using this to check in on the net on Wednesday nights. So it'll be interesting to find out, but that's actually a good idea too.
Well, it's my hopes that I have several opportunities. I was even thinking of a small repeater to go in on this rig as well. So either way, I'm looking forward to learning more about these various programs and seeing what's a good fit for my project and what wouldn't be. So it's a learning. So I'm really looking forward to learning more as we continue to grow as a club and all these new options and programs become available. I think it's just a great thing. So anyway, I just appreciate you doing this. Kilo Echo 5, Charlie, India, Romeo. Back to Net.
All right, well, thanks for the kind words, Dan. Now, I've got one question. I thought this would be a good topic. We talked about responsibilities, and, I'm like, how many people would really seriously worry about that? You're on somebody else's radio. They may not get you. But let's talk a little bit about the implications of that. If anybody wants to bring up any points, call Net Control.
Kilo 5 Lima Golf X-ray.
Go ahead, Clark.
Hey, Jim. Benjamin and I need to check out of the net, so we're going to get ready and go here. But again, I've really enjoyed it and learned a lot, and I'll definitely check into some of these things, possibilities for the future. Kilo 5 Lima Golf X-ray.
All right, Clark. Clark and Benjamin, y'all have a nice evening tonight, and we'll catch you on the repeater down the road. Anybody else got any comments around responsibilities doing control of other stations? Call net control.
Echo 5, Charlie India Romeo. Jim, isn't this related to one of our test questions for exam questions?
Yes, it is. That's kind of where I was headed. So I was trying to figure out another way to kind of dig down a little bit deeper. But yeah, if you're controlling this, there are certain implications, and that is part of both the general and the extra exams.
WZ5TM.
Go ahead, Tim.
As far as responsibilities, one thing you have to remember is that they have logs of everybody who's using their systems. They have logs of you when you log into the remote server system. They have a copy of your license. They have a log when you connect to radios and when you disconnect from those radios. So it's not like you're just totally out there anonymously. They know who you are and when you've been doing things. Back to net.
No, Tim, that's actually a good point, because as you log in and connect to a system, it is going to log who logged in. And they're also going to probably keep track of what frequency you're on, when you transmitted, when you stopped transmitting. So they will have plenty of logs if you decide you want to get on there and be malicious, it's going to be pretty easy for them to find you. But, ultimately under the FCC rules, since you are originating the communication, you are the one ultimately responsible, and they'll come after you. All right, now we're going to take one more break, and I'm going to ask everybody if there's any other topics along this level that you would like for future nets. So anybody that has a suggested topic, please call net control now.
KG5MFJ.
Go ahead, Ken.
Well, I think tonight was a good overview of a lot of different sites, and if you were to go back and construct another program on each of the sites, you could go a little deeper into the information, time permitting, and that would put you maybe, I don't know, what do you got, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8? I've got 8 tabs open, so you could do 8 weeks of presentations going into each website deeper. KG5MFJ, back to net.
Well, thanks, Kent. That's one good idea. Anybody call net control?
WZ5TM.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I would like more information on these new software-defined radios and the smaller ones that are like a little dongle you put on your computer, and they give you all these frequencies coming in, and you hear huge swaths of frequencies and do all sorts of things with them for about $30. Back to net.
Well, no, that's a topic near and dear to my heart, and we could talk about the different types of SDR radios, and they have kits that we could talk about, and then we could also talk about GNU radio, which is one of the applications that a lot of people use to control those SDR dongles and actually write custom applications to list for things. So I'll put that on the list. Thank you very much. Anybody else got any topics that they'd like to see in this forum? Call Net Control.
W5FKN.
All right, nothing heard, so we're going to switch over, and we're going to do general announcements. So we're going to open up the net for any general announcements to anyone who might have an item that is amateur radio related that they'd like to buy, sell, trade, or swap, or an announcement that's amateur radio related about an upcoming event, course, or anything like that. Please call Net Control now. All right, well, I have a couple of general announcements. In 2 weeks, we'll have HamCom at the Irving Convention Center. If you want to see what a portion of Hamvention or Dayton's like, I would suggest that you go out there and check out HamCom. They usually have quite a few vendors that show up, Elecraft, Icon, Kenwood, a lot of the antenna manufacturer there. You'll see a lot of junk dealers there. You'll see a lot of people that will have used equipment that are looking to sell, so it'll be well worth it. You might be able to get a pretty good deal, through some of the people that are selling their older equipment. The other thing is that we do have Field Day coming up at the end of the month on the 25th and 26th, and I'll be working with Alyssa, AG5DAS, to send out sheets. So we're looking for people to man the operating stations to help with setup and tear down. So one of those, don't let it keep you from signing up. If you have special needs or you need somebody to come get you or anything like that, please let us know, and we'll make sure that everybody can participate in Field Day. I will open the net one more time if anybody else has any other general announcements. Okay, with that, since we have nothing heard, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this session of the Lewisville Amateur Radio Association's subject to be announced net. All stations are invited to call us on the air following the net with any questions or comments. I want to thank you all for your participation tonight. I hope to hear from you in the next week. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your holiday, and you all have a pleasant night. This is K5EZ returning the W5FKN to normal amateur use and closing the net at 2018 local.